Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Findmypast from home, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I hope you're in a great mood, and I hope that this hopefully doesn't put you off too much. My name is Ellie. I'm Senior Community Executive for Findmypast, and this is the space where family historians, genealogists, house historians, and lovers of history alike can come together and share their love of the past. Now, today we are doing something really, really special, and I'm so excited. And I'm not going to be on my own today. I love it when I get to have guests on. So today is our virtual street party. So get yourselves comfortable, grab a wee treat, grab a drink. Even if you're not mad keen on the royals or the Queen or anything like that, don't worry. It's not going to all be about the Queen today. It's mainly about you guys, our fantastic community. And it's actually, I think, the first time that we've invited on multiple community members at the same time, which is so exciting. I will add them into the stream in a minute, and you can see who we've got. It's so exciting. Maybe you can guess as to who isn't in the comments, who is the guest today. Maybe you can do a little bit of a process of elimination as to who we've got. In any case, we're going to be talking about the power of the genealogy community. We're going to be talking about newspapers and discoveries and why family history is so important to us. We're going to be talking a little bit about the royals and the Queen, just a little bit, and then we'll move on. So it's fine, just in case, because I know the royals aren't for everybody, but it's more than that today. It's more about, as I said, more about community. If you haven't heard, our entire newspaper archive is free to access for an entire week until the 6th of June. So if you don't have newspapers included in your subscription, now is the time to go and give them a go. Have a look and see if you can find articles about your family members, your ancestors, your relatives. You can do a bit of fan research. You could research things like politics, fashion, crime, sport. The list honestly goes on and on. There really is something for everybody in the newspapers. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're now going to invite in our very special guests, and you get to see who we've got today. So I'll invite them in. We have Sally. Hi, Sally.
Hello.
Pat. Hello, Pat.
Hi.
And also Karen. Guys,
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so excited, and hopefully everybody in the comments is going to be just as excited as I am to see you, because I think apart from Karen, who, you kindly came on Findmypast from home with me a couple of weeks ago, Sally and Pat, I don't know if anybody in the comments will have seen your face before. So this is so exciting for everybody. Thank you guys for coming on today. What we'll do is, can I just run through each of you? I'll just ask you to introduce yourselves. Karen, can we start with you if that's okay? Could you remind our lovely community who you are? And
I'm Karen, and I live in London, North London. I'm a volunteer co-host for the Society of Genealogists. I'm the events coordinator for the London, Westminster and Middlesex Family History Society, and I actually am now a professional genealogist. Having studied at Strathclyde a few years ago, I've taken the plunge and doing it professionally. So
fantastic, thank you very much. Pat, can I pass over to you?
Yeah, sure. My name's Pat Allen. I'm a volunteer moderator on the Findmypast forum. I live in West Yorkshire, near to Holmfirth, and I've long been a subscriber to Findmypast. I'm very interested in family history for many years.
Lovely, thank you so much. And yeah, guys, if you're not a member of the Findmypast forum, Pat is one of our amazing volunteer moderators who keep that forum running day to day. And honestly, Pat, we couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much. Let me just take the opportunity to say that. And last but not least, Sally, would you mind telling our lovely community, people that you probably already know, you've seen in the comments, just a little bit about yourself?
Well, hello, everyone. I can see lots of familiar names. My name's Sally Colgrove, and I live not too far from Oxford. Family history is a great hobby of mine, and it's as time goes on, it's got more and more intense. And you might have seen my face, or at least heard my voice, on the 1921 Super Duper Finds. If you haven't, I'm sure you can watch the little video there. But yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much. Yes, Niall is in the comments with us today, so please do say hi to Niall as well. He'll be answering any questions that you've got. Niall, if you wouldn't mind grabbing the link to Sally's video and just dropping that into the comments, just in case anyone's not watched it. It's absolutely lovely. It's all about Sally's 1921 census discovery and why that was so important. But anyway, yes, brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I'm just going to say hello to a couple of people in the comments. We've got lots of people with us already, which is so great to see. We've got Gillian also joining us from Edinburgh. The weather is perking up here in Edinburgh, which I'm really, really glad about. We've got Nicole. Oh, so many familiar names. We've got Ellen from Illinois, Sarah from Wexford, Janet from my very native North Wales. Hello. Hello, Victoria. Yes, have I gone a bit overboard? I wonder. I just want to eat everything here. I've got cupcakes, I've got strawberries, I've got tunnocks. I mean, you can't live in Scotland and not love tunnocks. And also some Swiss roll that's sort of fallen apart a bit. But hey ho, it's fine. It's all for the aesthetics. I've got Matthew with us, we've got Jenny, we've got Jane, Susan, Martin saying the captions is coming up as Findmypast. That's one of the more mild ones I've seen the Facebook captions doing for us. There are different variations. They're all automated, you see. So yeah, thank you so much. And what we'll do is we will get started with a bit of a chat. So what we're going to chat about first is sort of how we got into family history and what it means to us and things like that. So do you mind, Sally, if I pass to you first? How and why did you get into family history?
I think actually it was through talking to my dad and him talking about long lost people and the need to document this information. When I first started, I just scribbled some names down on a piece of paper. And then this is just on my dad's side. My mum's side is slightly different. And sort of went back as far as I could and then needed a bigger piece of paper and then a bigger piece of paper. And sort of it went on and on like that. And then I needed to make it official. So Findmypast helped in that. So yeah, that's how it came about, looking at old photos and chatting to my dad.
I think that's a great place to start, you know, chatting to a family member, jotting down what you know on a bit of paper with a pencil, and also rummaging through old photographs, I think. Pat, was your experience similar, or did you come into it in a different way?
Not quite, really. Mine started way back in 1970. My grandma died, and part of her estate, which my dad was executor for, was a complicated trust set up by my wicked great grandmother, who I never got to meet. And in order to try and separate it and work out what was going on, because we had all sorts of cousins trying to make a claim on this trust that great grandma Frances had set up, my dad had to map the family for the solicitors in order to deal with it. And I helped him at the time. And it went from there, really, because I then became intrigued by these people. And I mean, Frances, the great grandmother, she features in one of my best finds in the newspapers as well. She was a bit of a devil, apparently. And she had so many secrets, it's untrue. So it went from there, really. I mean, obviously, in the early days, it was just buying a box with discs in it and hoping you could find some of your family, and then finding out that they were all from different parts of the country and everything. And then really, really got involved when the great news was in the newspaper that Family Search were putting the 1881 census online. I think that was about 1999. So really got involved then when things started to be online.
Amazing. A project that's, you know, it's just lasted decades. And this is the thing with family history. It has the power to really suck you in. doesn't it? Karen, what about you? Was it box of photographs? Was it
Bible.
the old estate?
No, Bible.
Family Bible. Love
Yeah,
it.
so I'd always been interested in the family stories because my family were quite good at sharing a bit of their background. But when my son was quite little, sitting on the floor, I found this big book, and it turned out to be the family Bible that was dedicated to the first couple married in the Ebenezer Chapel. I mean, that got me intrigued to start with. Turns out to be my second great grandparents. A list of all their children, births and deaths, my great grandfather's birth certificate, and a photo of my great great grandfather. So, and I was born a Brown, so that was sort of like a bit of a gift to start with. And my great grandfather had the middle name Edgecombe, which was quite intriguing. Turns out it comes from Devon, and it was passed down, maiden name of a grandmother. So yeah, that was my start. I started there and sort of went from there, snowballed.
Yes, I think we had a family Bible. I think I've said this a few times on Find My Past from Home. We had a family Bible on my dad's side, and it was kept at my great aunt's house in Rhyl in North Wales. And she used to live in one of the bungalows that was right on the seafront, and it was always prone to flooding. And it did flood one year, and the Bible was destroyed. Why it was kept there, I don't know. But there were photocopies made. Thank goodness. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, I think it's incredible that we've all come into family history in different ways. I mean, I came into family history after, applying for a job at a family history company that had a temp position going in the customer service team 6 years ago. So yeah, we've all come in different ways, and we're now, well, excluding myself. I mean, yeah, including me. I'm going to include me. We're all members of this lovely, thriving community where we all get to natter to each other every week and share tips and advice and things like that, which is just wonderful. So my next question then, and I'll start with Pat, if that's okay. When do you think, if at all, family history went from being a solo activity to being one that you can share with others, if my question makes sense at all?
For me, my family history is my own, and I plough that lonely furrow with that. I don't collaborate, other than I used to talk to Dad about it, and my brother lives in Sheffield, where all my family were from. But I think Find My Past was a bit of a catalyst for it, and not in a good way. A few years into Find My Past, they introduced a new search. And nobody could deal with it. It was horrendous. And we all started to make contact, and we all started to form little groups to chat about things. Once they were sorted out, and Miko had stopped apologising for it, and the customer service manager had just buried her head in despair. I think then groups started together to talk about things and to realise that they could ask a question. And I think there is a free forum and help thing called Roots Chat. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And they started going to quite a lot of family history fairs and things like that. And I think people then really began to see the power of it. But I think it's relatively recent. In my history, like in the last 20 years, but much less than that, really.
Yeah, but I think...
So, yeah, I do mine myself. I do my own research. I just cannot be bothered with people who put wrong trees publicly on the internet, on another site not very far from here. And, but I think the power of the sharing of the knowledge and the experience is the big thing for me. There's so much experience out there. And, within the forum, within the moderators, we've got Christine, she's just a font of all knowledge about research and sources of research. Catherine is amazing with technology and the use of technology. Robin's a whiz on DNA. And, and then there's me, I do all sorts of things. And then there are members of the forum, who are incredible researchers. And if somebody says, can somebody help me with this? They come up with all sorts of things. And I'm sure that there are many members who actually don't share their knowledge. And I know that we'll probably get a chance to discuss it a little bit more later. I think that that's where we could help more and where communities can help more, rather than people just post a query and run once they've got their answer. If they were to stick around in groups like the forum or on the Findmypast Facebook page, I think we could all put a lot more into it. We've got 20,000 or more members now in the forum in a couple of short years, basically. And just think of all that knowledge there is out there.
It is really incredible. And I think sometimes, I think I'm guilty of this. Like, I will probably downplay my knowledge. I always used to say people like Miko and Alex and Jen, those were the experts. And okay, yeah, I'm not a professional genealogist, but let's we've all got our own strengths, right? And within this community, we can all help each other out and sharing that knowledge. And if you're watching and listening now, you're thinking, oh, I don't know if there's anything I could ever contribute. I disagree. I think there will definitely be something. There'll be somebody out there somewhere that you can help, and there'll be one little area that you are the person to go to for. And just it's a really, really powerful thought, actually. Karen, can I pass to you then? Are you like Pat? Are you no, this is my family history, but I will help other people out with theirs? Where are you at with the sort of community aspect?
So I've probably been doing it pretty solo for at least 15 years, apart from asking family questions to, find out more information if they know such and such. But it was really once I went to a couple of classes at the Society of Genealogists that I got into it more seriously. And then I'd also joined Twitter about the same sort of time, because I used to teach IT, and I thought, actually, if I'm going to be teaching about this, I better be using it myself. Often how I end up starting things. And then I discovered there was a whole community on Twitter of genealogists to share. And we have Ancestry Hour every Tuesday at 7:00, which is really nice. And also there's always somebody there, like on the Facebook groups, that you can question if you're not sure, ask for help, or answer a question. I think what the thing with family history is, we all have unique experiences because everybody's family is different. So somebody may have come across that thing before that you haven't. You need a bit of a helping hand on. So.
Absolutely. And Sally, what about you? Because I know, like Pat and Karen, you're a familiar name popping up when we do live broadcasts from Findmypast from home. When did family history for you go from being, okay, I'm sitting at home doing my family history, it's sort of my thing, to being part of that sort of wider community?
Well, to be absolutely honest, I think family history for me is still a solo activity. It gives me something to talk to my family about. However, they glaze over fairly quickly. But that's fine. I carry on talking. I don't care. I just keep yapping on about it. But I think as a wider community, I think during lockdown was when the Fridays and Wednesdays came into their own, and when I'm going to say your assistants, Niall and Ellie, when you're in the comments as well, when you're posting links and things, that's so helpful, really, really helpful. And I have quite often by the end of the session, I have a whole row of tabs open and then have to go through each one of them and look at them. But I enjoy it as a private hobby, to be honest. It's something that I indulge myself in, I think.
Yeah, I think sometimes your own personal family tree, that can be deeply personal, and you may not want to share things with other people, but the love of family history and the sharing of knowledge, as we've already said, I think that's the community element, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything else before I move on? Any other thoughts on community and things like that? Oh, good. I'm just going to have a flick through the comments, actually. Matthew says, my dad's father died when I was 4, so I always miss not having the chance to talk to him about the family. My mum's mum loved chatting about the things we found out about her family. Yeah, I think, it's really special. It can also be quite emotional as well, especially when there are people who are sadly no longer with us and you think, I'd have loved to have spoken to them about this. Sarah says, we always knew my mother's family when we were growing up, about my mother's family, but very little about my father's. My interest was piqued. I do think it's quite often the case where there's one side where you think, yeah, we know all of those stories. And then there's the other side of the family that are very hush-hush for some reason.
Yeah, that's why the Brown Bible was such an amazing find, because my granny and that didn't really talk about family history at all. I have no idea, and they're quite a small family as well. So
yeah, I think as well, my mum thought she knew nothing about her family. We've got dads documented with all sorts of property that they owned. They were farmers, landowners and things, but my mum's was orphaned by the time she was 8, and she'd lost 2 of her 4 brothers, one when he was 3 and one when she was 3, one when she was 5, and then her parents had died. And she thought she knew nothing. And when I started talking to her about it, when she wanted to talk about it, she had this picture in her mind that had been given to her by a grandmother. And her grandmother knew all the family history going back to, well, she was born in 1860. But my mum couldn't get a fix on dates or anything. But in talking to her, she remembered that when her dad died, the snowdrops were blooming in the cemetery. And when Billy died, it was primroses. And when her mum died, there were other things, and she remembered all those things, and we managed to piece sorts of things together.
Well, I'm just going to sort of busy myself to a little bit of cake. Sally, was it the same as you before I start crying about?
Well, I've forgotten the question. Sorry.
Just like sometimes there's one side of the family that seems to know quite a bit, and then there's the other side of the family that is just very hush-hush.
I think so. Well, my mom's side of the family, if you watch the 1921 video thing, you'll hear all about it. But I knew absolutely nothing about my mother. And it was just one little trip in the car and her passing comment and then the release of the 1921 census that just opened everything up. And photos included, and all manner of information, which is absolutely wonderful. So my father's side of the tree, as I said, I had one piece of paper and then went to another and another, and that's massive, that's huge. And now my mum's separate little tree is actually growing and it's bearing fruit now, so that's really good.
So good to hear. Fantastic. I love all of your stories. Love them so much. Now, we've already spoken about sort of the family history community and what we're already doing to sort of support each other about things like, if you ask somebody else for help, you maybe should then go and pass it forward, so to speak, see if you can help somebody else. What else do you think we can be doing to support each other more within this lovely community? But how can we make it even better? I'd throw that out to anybody who would like to answer.
I think, well, I've gathered from some people that they've had some not nice things said, and you look on some of the communities and it must be a struggle for people like Pat to mediate when people are just rude or not respectful of other people's feelings. And you just think, come on, grow up. You wouldn't say that to them in person, would you?
No.
You know, people, it's an ongoing problem with all sorts of social media. But yeah, I just think you just be as helpful, as resourceful as possible to people, and be as nice and polite. And if they say something that you know is really not going to be fruitful, then you ignore it and carry on. For our society, the London, Westminster, Middlesex, we're actually trying to join the young generation. We're going to start doing TikToks around graveyards.
That sounds great.
So yes, trying to appeal to all generations and things, I think is important as well. So yeah, don't hold your breath on that one. It might not come to fruition too soon. I'm not really sure how to do it. All I've done so far is sign up to TikTok on my own account.
Well, actually, last night, my grandchildren said, why can't we stay here till tomorrow? I said, because I'm busy tomorrow. Well, what are you doing? I said, I'm having a conversation with some people about family history. Oh my God, Mummy, that sounds really boring. I said, well, I'm doing a podcast actually. And then suddenly they were very interested in it. So.
Oh, do you know, I'd love it if we did a Findmypast podcast. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
as I say, they were interested. But I think one of the things for people who want to be helped is to be clear about what they want help with, because I don't think that the community is here to do somebody's family tree for them or do all their research for them. But quite often it's very difficult. And, you know, if you just say, somebody just says, oh, I can't find my grandmother and I've looked everywhere for her. If they were to just say, who are you looking for? What do you want to know? Where have you looked already? And we did have an incident, to go back to what Karen was saying there, a while ago, I shall say, where someone gave us a very sketchy outline of what it was they wanted. So everyone was guessing at what they were trying to do. And it ended with them saying, none of you people are helpful. And, you know, just a bit of clarity about what somebody wants to know, or where you've looked.
How does the phrase go?
Time frame's important, isn't it, too? So often
exactly.
people don't put what rough year you're looking at, because that makes a huge difference. So
yeah,
what's the phrase I'm looking for? Help me, help you.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
So
that's why you're a social media executive. Snappy. You've got it there.
A little while ago on the Friday Live, I think, Ellie, you might have done it. I think you opened up any burning questions that we had in the comments, and to put that question down, and then for the other members to research it and have a look and kind of buddy up with somebody else. And that was really good, actually. It was really nice. It kind of opened up a lot of conversations.
Maybe we should do more like that.
I think so.
Okay, I'm going to move on. We're going to now briefly talk about the Queen and the royals, and the fact that it's the Platinum Jubilee this week, which is super, super exciting, which is why I've got celebratory bunting and celebratory cake and strawberries and Tunnocks tea cakes, which I'm going to try and not eat while we're live because it's probably a little bit unprofessional. So I don't think, not all of us are going to have a memory of meeting a royal. It doesn't always happen. But, I think I've seen the Queen once, and I was coming out. We were driving out of Windsor, because I used to live in Egham in Surrey, and we were driving out of Windsor parallel to the Long Walk, and suddenly the traffic stops, and the police have stopped the traffic. I'm like, what's going on here? Why have they stopped the traffic? And then suddenly coming down the Long Walk, there's a car. On my other half, who's sitting in the driver's seat, goes, look at that car. And it was the Queen and Prince Philip. I lost it a little bit, because I like famous people, and I go a little bit sort of starstruck when I see famous people. But yeah, that's my one time of seeing seeing a royal. But I just want to sort of open it up to the floor a little bit. Do you have a memory of meeting or seeing a royal? Any sort of like Jubilee memories or like party memories, or any memorabilia that you might have that you'd like to show? Sally, why don't we start with you, if that's okay? If there's anything that you would like to share, don't worry if not.
Well, yes, I have a couple of things that I can tell you about. So as I said earlier, I live very close to Oxford, and at the time I was living in Oxford. And I think I was trying to remember when it was, and I think it was probably about 30 years ago. And I was driving, coming up to in fact, my story is very similar to yours, Ellie. I was driving out of a side road into the Banbury Road in Oxford, which is one of the main sort of thoroughfares into the centre of Oxford. And out of nowhere, a police outrider jumped out and stopped me and said, could you wait here, please? And I wound my window down thinking, oh God, what the hell have I done? What on earth has gone wrong now? And I said, is everything okay? Have I done something? I'm afraid I can't tell you, madam, but if you would just stay here, please. And I was right up on the white line. And the Banbury Road is usually a very, very busy road all the time. And it was dead quiet. There was nothing on the road. And I sat there for probably, I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe. And then a couple of police outriders came past. And then a very, very shiny black Rolls Royce came past, the one with the great big back window to it. And sitting just like this with her hands on her knees was the Queen. And it was extraordinary. And she sailed past. And it was one of those moments where time kind of slows down. And she just drove past, and then a couple more police outriders came past, and then we sat there for another couple of minutes, and then they said, off you go, you can go. And I drove behind the Queen, I guess. That was quite an experience. And then my other thing, this isn't royal spotting, but it's kind of interesting. It kind of makes me laugh a little bit. When it was the Queen's Silver Jubilee in 1977, we, again, living in Oxford, we didn't have a street party. And it was very sad because the road that I lived in was perfect for a street party. There were lots of families, lots of kids, but I guess there must have been some miserable old neighbours or something who didn't want it and, I don't know, weren't interested. And we didn't have a street party. And none of the people put flags out either. So where I live at the moment, there's bunting and all sorts out, and nobody did that. And I think my parents got a little bit fed up with it and thought, right, well, we're going to put something out and make an effort here. And in my dad's house, there's a chest, a box, a metal box, and I've always had such an interest in this box because the damn thing is never opened, and I know it's full of secrets. And I'm sure there's a huge scroll in there that answers all my family history questions. I'm sure in this box. Anyway, the box was secretly opened when I'd gone to bed or something, and out came a roll of material, and it was about, I think, 2 feet wide, red, white, and blue. And my parents opened the bedroom windows and sort of suspended on either side of the house, suspended this cloth down. And that was it. That was our effort. But quite interestingly, the cloth, though, was quite old. And our understanding is that it was from Queen Victoria's something or other. It might have been her Jubilee or something. So it's quite ancient cloth that was hanging out the window. But then it was rolled up, and then again, probably as a kid when I was in bed, put back into this chest, and the chest was sealed, and that was it. But yeah, that's my funny story.
Where is the chest now?
Well, in my dad's house. And I know that he's watching on YouTube, so he's going to be laughing about this.
I need photographic evidence of the chest, and
we want to see what's inside.
I need to see.
I wish.
Pat, can I pass to you? Have you got any stories you'd like to share?
Well, I have, but mine is a story of missed opportunities. We went on holiday to Egypt the week after Princess Diana had left, staying in the same hotel, but they let us see the suite that she stayed in. Apparently, I saw the Queen, but I was only 3 months old, so I don't remember much about it. She did a tour of the country in coronation year, and I was born in February of coronation year. And as I took early retirement from work, and I was nominated by my boss to go to the garden party, the Royal Garden Party, because I'd performed very well in my year at work, but we'd already booked to go on holiday at the time when it was, so I had to nominate my deputy to go in place of me. And I mean, and I say it's just missed opportunities. I'm not a great royalist. I will be honest about that. The Queen's fine. I've got a lot of admiration for a woman who's done that job for so long without wanting early retirement. But I love all the pageantry. I choke when I hear pipe bands and military bands and things like that. I do. I fill up just like Ellie. And I think what I remember about Jubilees and things like that is always the music. I remember 1977 and Queen appeared and Freddie Mercury wore his crown and had the crown logo at the back for the first time. And I remember at the Golden Jubilee, Queen with Adam Lambert standing on top of Buckingham Palace. And I remember also in the Golden Jubilee, the late, great Joe Cocker. And all that went through my head is, what is a lad that I used to watch playing at the Mucky Duck in Sheffield doing singing for the Queen? He used to play, he fitted my mum's gas fire as it happens, Joe Cocker. He used to work for William Press gas fitters when they were converting everything. But he used to play in a pub in Sheffield called the Black Swan, which we always call the Mucky Duck. And I just thought, my God, he's come some way to be there playing at the Queen's Jubilee.
That's lovely. I'm welling up at that now.
Oh, God.
I don't know what's wrong with me today.
And the only other thing I remember about Jubilees was 1977. I was on a train on Bank Holiday Monday. The weather was horrendous. It was July and there were hailstones. And they actually stopped our train at Staley Bridge, which is a tiny little platform outside Manchester. And they used to have the most wonderful station cafe, station buffet with a minor bird. And the minor bird used to shout at everyone. And I remember watching the pageantry on that telly in that Staley Bridge until in Staley Bridge Station, until it was safe to move on the train.
Lovely memories. Oh. But I know what you mean about bands. It was a couple of months ago now. I walked up to the centre in Edinburgh, and I think, was it the Royal Scots Band that were playing? And they were just starting, and I was in the middle of my lunch break. I'm like, I'm going to be late back, but I don't care. I have to stay and listen to these guys play. And then they started playing the How to Train Your Dragon suite, and that is one of my favourite pieces of music of all time. And I honestly, I just sobbed. Anywho, Karen, any memories, memorabilia, jubilees?
Well, I'll start with a few stories when I've, sort of met the Queen. The first one was when she actually did wave at me, and I know it was me because she came to visit Enfield in 2003 to celebrate the 400th year anniversary of our market, which was given by Royal Charter. And she visited various places, including a lovely old house called 40 Hall. And I knew she was around Enfield, but I was driving back from work, and if I go one particular way, I'd have to go over a place called Maiden's Bridge, and it's a narrow bridge and it's traffic lights. So the traffic lights were red when I got there, and then this policeman, similar story to Sally's, this policeman came over on his bike and stopped me going when it was green. I thought it was a bit weird. And then the Queen's car drove over the little bridge, so I waved and she waved back. Now there was nobody else there, so she definitely waved at me because because I was the only car in the queue waiting to go over the bridge, because I thought it was a bit odd because it's demand lights because it's quite a little country lane. Yeah. So that was rather good. And she actually did visit our college to open the old Manor House Gardens in 2010, which was lovely. But the whole college went into like lockdown 2 hours before she arrived for security. She arrived by helicopter into the playing fields over the back, and then a car brought her into the actual college. And then she walked around, and a few weeks before, somebody from the palace had been marked out with one of those wheelie things where she was going to walk, and we had to put an extra path in to make sure she didn't have to walk too far around the college, and that path's still there.
I'm pretty sure that reminds me a little bit of, was it Donny Osmond at Roots Tech London? They had to mark out his path or something like that. Anywho, I think you also had some memorabilia.
I do, yeah. Well, I found a couple of things about my mother things, which is, one of them is this. I don't know if everybody can see. And she told me it was something she was given at school, and it was a copy of the anointing spoon. So part of the coronation service is when the Queen or the monarch's anointed with the oil, and I think it's done like shrouded in mystery because there's a canopy goes over, so you can't see it. So she was given this at school, so I've now got it. But yeah, I don't know if anybody else's thing. And the other thing, which is rather strange, I found amongst the photographs is this photograph cover. Oh, going the wrong way, it's reversed, which says Coronation 1953, and it's a photo case. Unfortunately, the photo wasn't in it, but a process of deduction. I think it's from when my dad was at school. So this is the school photograph, and my dad is that one. He was 17 at the coronation, so his Highgate School. Yeah, why it came in a special folder, I don't know. But sadly, they're no longer here to ask. But that's one of those things that's quite curious.
But lovely to have as well.
Yes.
Oh, it's just so many sort of lovely memories. And, you know, it's all part of our, you know, whether you like the royals or the Queen or not, it's still part of sort of this shared national collective memory, if that makes sense. Even, excuse me, knocking that off, even beyond national. And I think before we move on, there was just one more thing I wanted to share. The fact that when the lockdowns were all first announced, and, you know, we all were told, you know, you must stay at home, work from home, etc. We at Findmypast, we carried on. We were working from home 100% of the time from then. And it was then that we started doing these live broadcasts from home on a more permanent basis, because we wanted to give everybody somewhere to come. And then when the Queen did a speech on TV, and I think there was one thing that she said that stuck with me. And in fact, on my TV about an hour ago, they were playing, it was the Scottish Parliament, and they were talking about the Jubilee and things like that. And they even read the bit from the speech that I was going to talk about today, which was the Queen going, you know, we will see each other again, we will meet again. And that really stuck with me, I think. And yes, okay, the past couple of years were actually quite hard in some respects. And, you know, it's things like that, you know, when you've got this wonderful figurehead telling you, do you know what, it's going to be okay. And that made me feel a bit better. Anywho, shall we talk about some newspaper discoveries now? Because if any of you haven't heard, if you've been living under a rock, I'm joking. Findmypast newspapers are entirely free to view and access until the 6th of June. It's a great time to see if your family made the headlines, perhaps they made the front page, perhaps they were involved in something like a court case, or perhaps you might find a family notice for them, whether it's like a birth, marriage, or a death announcement, for example, or a funeral notice where they list all the people who attended a funeral, whether they were involved in the world of sport, in the world of politics. There are so many options and so many opportunities. So yeah, I keep knocking this. I really should move it. Who would like to start with a newspaper discovery? Pat, I'm going to pick on you, Pat. You can start.
Well, you can take your pick. You can have the accident, the miracle cure in the lunatic asylum, the Bluebell girl, or the murder. Can
we start with the lunatic asylum, and then we'll see how we go on?
Well, I mentioned great-grandma Frances.
Yes.
Well, she has a sister, Alice, my dad's great-aunt Alice. And Alice was committed to the Pauper Lunatic Asylum in Wakefield in 1912. Alice died in 1922 and left all her money to Frances, her sister. But the brothers disputed the will because they said when Alice made a will, she wasn't of sound mind. So there is an entire court case documented in various newspapers because it went to High Court Family Division, with the brothers trying to say that Alice was not of sound mind. And her estate was considerable. She had quite a lot of money for the time. And it went to court. And evidence was given in the court case about the fact that Alice was actually cured. She was no longer a lunatic, and that she had actually been suffering from grief on the death of her father, Henry Binder, and that she had decided to stay in the lunatic asylum because she liked it there. So she actually was of sound mind. Now, Nurse Siddy, who was Alice's nurse, was almost her companion. And great-grandma Frances actually gifted Nurse Siddy a house in thanks for the evidence given in the court case.
Wow.
Now, all the trial is in the newspapers. I'm still waiting to get release of Alice's papers from the lunatic asylum and find out at what point she suddenly became cured. And I've got some draft copies of the papers that went backwards and forwards with the solicitor, and a letter to Nurse Siddy from Grandma Frances.
I don't know what to say. That's an amazing find.
It's all there. If you want to look at it, it's Alice Binder. And the court case was in 1922.
That's incredible.
And of course, that's when she died.
Sorry, I'm just a bit speechless. That's really quite cool. That's brilliant. The fact that she was, in this institution, and apparently for grief, which is really, really sad. And then apparently she was cured, and then she stuck around because she liked it.
Yeah, and she used to play. It says it in all the court transcripts that she would play the piano for the doctors, nursing staff, and talk with them about the day's news.
Oh.
So
I'm just surprised she was allowed to stay there. If she was,
goodness knows.
It's odd, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, you've started us off strong there, Pat. Karen, how about you?
Well, I've got two stories which are quite interesting. The first one is rather relevant. So I discovered my husband's great-grand-aunt, Margaret Tate, presented flowers to Queen Victoria outside the town hall in Kelso when the Queen was on her way to Flaws Castle.
Oh, that's so lovely. And you wouldn't have known that otherwise, would you?
No clue if I hadn't found it in the newspaper. It was, yeah. And that same family, I also found records of the children's academic achievements at school and things. So, yeah. But the next one is my not so good cousin, second cousin 3 times removed, James Neil Campbell. I think I mentioned before about this slightly odd family. He was born in India in 1862. Through the newspapers, I've discovered that he went to Australia and became bankrupt. In London, he was charged with bigamy and fraud. His occupations included a saddler, aeronaut, balloon manufacturer, and the best bit at all, which sounds awful, but being family historians will appreciate this, the announcement about his death He died in 1926. The inquest report in the newspaper said, Mr. Campbell, 61, an engineer of Brixton, died at St Thomas's Hospital from injuries received when he was knocked down by a motor coach on Westminster Bridge. And then it said at the end that the driver was exonerated and not considered to be guilty.
As you do.
And I've got, apart from finding the birth records and some of the family's army records on Find My Past within their India collection, most of the story I've got about them is from the newspapers.
That's fantastic. What a life, what a character.
Yes.
And yet I think I agree with you, you know, saying it in any other context, some of this you probably can't chuckle or laugh, but as family historians, I think we all have reasonably thick skins for things like this, and any discovery like this that's a little bit quirky, we're like, yes, please. Sally, what about you? Have you found anything particularly awesome in the newspapers?
Well, not as awesome as the others, I'm afraid. Well, I suppose the only thing kind of mildly interesting that I found, I had a great aunt, and when I was a child, she lived with us, and she was born in 1888, so she was a true Victorian, and I used to really enjoy talking to her and questioning her about her childhood and her schooling and, you know, all manner of different things. And she had a book which was probably kept on top of that chest thing, but anyway, it was a book of postcards, and so she used to collect postcards, and I used to read them and look at them, and it was really interesting because they were all ordered in sequential order, and when you read them, they read almost like text messages, but of course just one side of the messages. And because the postal system was so good, a postcard would be written in the morning, received at lunchtime, and then if a meeting or something was arranged, they would meet up in the evening. And there were a lot of postcards from a chap called Reg, and Reg had beautiful handwriting, and he was really quite familiar with Auntie Flo. And yes, I know, but interestingly, the postcards were all addressed to her work and not her home. Mm-hmm. And by all accounts, her father was a bit of an old misery, and I think probably didn't approve of Florence having a young man. And I think that was really frowned upon. So that's why the postcards went to her work. So she lived very close to her workplace. And reading through these messages, they had a regular meeting place, and it was really quite funny the way they're written. So, watch your kid, how you doing, and see you in the usual place after work, and all that kind. I know, it's lovely, it's so nice. But then suddenly these postcards just stopped, and there was nothing. And I thought, well, maybe he died or something, or went off to fight somewhere or something. And, you know, that was a bit sad. But one of them did have his surname on, and he had quite a distinctive surname. So what's the first thing you do? Put his name in the search, which I did. And I discovered that he was the son of a local vicar in the centre of Oxford. So sort of the opposite end of Oxford to where Auntie Flo was. Auntie Flo came from a huge family of tailors, and this chap Reg, he worked for a company supplying undergarments in the centre of Oxford. And anyway, to cut a very long story short, when I put his name into the search engine on the newspapers, our pick came straight away. He'd been stealing undergarments and trying to sell them on to somebody else, another lady in a sort of well-to-do area of Oxford. And he was caught, and he had to go to court, and then he had to go to prison for a short while they decided what to do with him. and his father came forward and said, well, we have relations in Chicago, and so he can go there. He can jolly well go there with his brother William, who was also involved in the crime. So they shipped them off. But again, on Find My Past, I managed to find the details of him going off to Chicago. And then again, looking further into it, I found records about what he was up to, what he did, his family, he got married. And so kind of, expanded that. So that was a sort of sub tree to my own family tree. But then I felt so sorry for Auntie Flo, because as far as she knew, he was a thief, and that was the end of their relationship. Rightly so, I suppose. But yeah, and all that information was in the newspapers.
Can I please request, all three of you, all of those discoveries, I would like novels, please, about all of them.
Actually, the one I didn't tell you about, the murder, there is a book about it.
Is there? Tell us.
Sadly, two little girls were murdered on the 15th of December 1912, and their bodies were found the following day by Francis and Alice's brother. Now, normally he only appears in the papers for fighting when he was drunk, but he found the little girls, and his wife and daughter gave evidence against the man who was later hanged for the murder. But there is a book came out within the last 2 years which has discredited their evidence.
Wow.
There's a TV series, isn't there, about people trying to investigate murders from the past or crimes from the past?
That was one of them that was that was looked at.
Yeah,
it's a really good series. That I like it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yes, novels. When you're not, doing family history and actually, doing everything else that you need to do in a day. If you can find, 10 minutes every day to just pen a few words, and then, we'll have some Findmypast community novels. Maybe we should do a writing competition. That's a really good idea. Should we do a writing competition? I think we should do a writing competition. Anywho, that brings us, I think, up towards the top of the hour. Sally, Karen and Pat, thank you so much for joining me today. I've had an absolute ball, and it has been a real pleasure speaking to all of you and not just speaking to a camera and not having anybody speak back like this, not just sort of typing, but like this. It's been so nice. Thank you for taking the time to come and natter to me today. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
I think we should do these more often. I think these are super fun. And if anybody is interested in appearing on one of these in the future, please drop me an email and we can arrange, because I think more of you guys, more of our amazing community on Findmypast from home, because it's all for you anyway. Drop me an email to discoveries@findmypast.com and we can talk. There's been some lovely comments today. I'm really sorry we've not got to many of them, but hopefully Niall has been keeping you guys company. A little bit of housekeeping before we leave. So as I said, we've got free newspapers until the 6th of June. Be sure to go give them a go if you've not already. You'll be surprised at what you can find. And also Friday's live on Friday, though it is a bank holiday for most of us. Jen Baldwin will be your intrepid host on Friday, supported by Niall in the comments as well, because sadly Niall doesn't get a bank holiday. Sorry, Niall. So yes, thank you so much for tuning in today, everybody, and being part of this wonderful discussion and being part of our wonderful community. We couldn't do this without you. So thank you very much. And thank you again to Sally, Karen and Pat. And we will leave it there. I hope you all have a lovely day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.